One of the biggest hurdles in your healing is forgiving your toxic parents. This has been the hardest for me personally to really let go of. My mother has said and done some really horrible things to me and talked crap about me like a dog to her coworkers, my family, and this has caused me to not want a relationship with my mother and to cut off contact, which is so painful to say because that's not what I want. I love my mother, but I accept her for who she is. I accept her and the reality of who she is. I accept reality. I'm not going to argue with reality and wish she should do this, she shouldn't do that. I'm not doing that because that takes away from my peace and my happiness. My father, my absent father, he would come around when I would go to my grandparents' house for holidays, and he would bring his wife and her child that he was raising. And I would just go upstairs, I would go hide. I would be so uncomfortable and so triggered in that moment. I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. But I can go back to that little girl and I could see that she was hurt because she just didn't feel good enough. That little girl felt that she's unlovable somehow. She's worthless somehow because her father, who she loves, is raising another kid and treats this kid like gold. And it comes to me, it's like I didn't get the same treatment. My father wasn't raising me, and this hurt me. And my own mother was always talking crap about my dad growing up. And it just put me in a really uncomfortable place mentally because my stepdad was the one who I saw as the enemy, the threat to my well-being, because he was emotionally abusing me growing up. And he would throw objects at me because my stepdad could not self-regulate. You know, he would get really overwhelmed really easily. He'd yell, he'd scream, he'd throw things at me, he just couldn't self-regulate. And that's his trauma and his wounds. It has nothing to do with me. And my mom, defending this behavior, not doing anything about it. Again, that is my mom's business. It has nothing to do with me, and that's the reality of it. So there's only 3 types of business: my business, their business, and God's business. And when I think about my parents and they should have done this or they're not doing this or whatever, I am in their business mentally. And it takes me out of my own business. When I'm having anxiety and health anxiety, I'm worrying about if I'm going to die. Am I going to have a heart attack? Is something wrong with me? A lot of health anxiety sufferers really go through it mentally, thinking the worst case scenario all the time. And not just health anxiety, but generalized anxiety, just always thinking the worst. And I'm in God's business. I'm not in my own business. I'm not in the present moment. So for me, I think the more I'm healing myself, the more kind I am to myself, the more I give myself, different beliefs that I was taught, different from what I was taught in childhood, the more I'm healing, the kinder I am to myself. And the more healing I do on myself, the more self-inquiry I do, the more forgiveness just comes naturally.